Hey, we're Mondo Obscura. We're here to talk about Focus on Black, our latest album, our second full-length album. We're here in the studio. We're going to do a rundown of all our gear, kind of what each role, each piece played on the album, and then talk about a lot of the technical stuff too. Just so you know, camera's being run by Mr. bios+a+ic, who we're actually, the album is on Symbolic Insight, his label, and we're grateful to have him in the studio today running camera.
Right on, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to start off just by talking about kind of how the album came into existence from concept all the way to completion. And I don't know where to start with that. I think we developed the set, and we kind of approach everything like, okay, we're going to go play this live, and eventually, so let's make a kind of a whole piece that will sound good in front of an audience, and that's really where this concept came from.
And create a process where we don't have to stop playing in between songs to get the next song ready. Because with our old process, we would have to stop and load up the song inside, and then we'd have an audience of people that were all ready for the next one, and I'd be okay, just a few more 30 seconds, play something on your guitar, mess around a little bit, make some noise. And I just didn't want to ever have to have dead air like that, so we moved to a purely hardware-driven sequencing approach to where once you hit start, you never have to hit stop until you feel like it, and that all of the elements of the song are contained in the sequences and structures of the songs themselves, but we never hit stop once we start, so that way the momentum never gets lost. And I think that's this Focus on Black is the first materialization of that process where we never hit stop between any songs. And so
well, actually,
that's kind of the concept, I think, behind it.
Preceding it, we kind of had that idea, and Focus on Black is actually the birth out of a failure we had. Not really a failure, but we were approaching our live performance to an all hardware-based setup that never stopped, but completely unplanned, all improvised. And we played a few shows with it and kind of had some weird, varied success. But I think we realized that wasn't the path that we should be following, and so Evan then developed kind of what would become the skeleton of the album, and for live performance. And even when we first started, we played it live maybe once or twice. The first time I think we played it was at the Elsewinds Festival, and we did like a
2015.
Yeah, it was like it was September of 2015, and it was like a 3 or 4 hour version of it. It was super long, and I wasn't even playing guitar on the album at that point. I was only doing sequencing and acid lines and that sort of thing. So it changed significantly. But after, I think, the first time we recorded it, we multi-tracked everything, and that was in February of 2016. So kind of from, there was about a 6-month period in there where we developed it and finally got it to the point where it's like, okay, let's try to package this, let's record it. And from there, we continued to play live with it. We played out with it a bunch, and it continued to develop after that first recording. Evan added the EMU here.
Well, I didn't add it, actually. I brought it back.
You brought it back.
This has been my Live PA Nerve Center workstation for, I hate to say, like 20 years. Almost, probably, working on 20 years. But it wasn't. It's heavy and clunky, but it has some of the best percussion sounds, and my old percussion extra drum machine kind of crapped out. So I brought it back into the fold, and the sounds and what it added to the set was worth re-recording and adding back into the multi-track process that we'd already done in Pro Tools. But you'll hear it's sprinkled throughout the album, and it's those old EMU samples they did such a good job with their sample library that's why I schlepped this thing around. I love the sounds in it.
Well, and the thing is that that piece of gear wasn't on the first multi-track recording of it. There was several months, I think it was over 6 months, that we continued to develop it out. And at one point we were working on our EP at that point, and we kind of stepped back and said, the set has taken on new life. It's so much more dynamic than our first recording. So we decided to re-record the entire thing again and integrate it with the first multi-track recording we did. And we'll get into the Pro Tools stuff at the end of this, and you'll see just how freaking massive it all became. But really, it was, aside from overdubs and a little bit of production on the back end, the whole meat of it was distilled down from 2 different multi-track record sessions with a ridiculous amount of inputs. So, what else? And then there was several months of editing, I think.
Several months. How many hours in those months, though?
Well, yeah, there was years. It was close to 2 years from when we wrote it to when it was done. We finally got it out to mastering to Mr. Chase Dobson in was it October of last year, and
sounds right.
You know, we were kind of sitting on our hands about our work, but it was pretty much done at that point, and we released it last month in February. So anyway, that's the long-winded version of how it was developed and created, and we'll get into the more technical stuff about the mixing and editing later, but that's enough for backstory now.
Thanks for listening.
And watching.